Hey folks, welcome to How to Build BioSyn Sanctuary. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with this map by now, but taking a quick look around, that dam way off in the distance ended up being my only real point of reference when I was trying to build this. When Grant and Sattler arrive at BioSyn Sanctuary, they fly over the dam towards the research compound. So, leading into that, they pass over the Dreadnoughtus in the lake. So, as opposed to choosing the flattened option for the terrain, I've gone with the normal setting. And as long as you do that, this lake will be present. That's where I'm kind of basing the rest of this off of. The only major building that goes into this build is going to be the amber mines, which, as most of you know, are located underneath the research compound, but obviously we can't get underneath that in the game. Also, being unmodded, I didn't really have a whole lot of options as far as how to construct those. As you'll see, I place a fence down. That's more, I just use it as a guide. I end up deleting it. This whole thing is basically made out of rocks, and if you place them close enough together, the animal shouldn't be able to get in or out. There is a gate as well, so that, depending on if you have hunger turned on or whatever, that's going to allow the rangers and the MVUs to still get into these places to refill the feeders or take care of any disease or injuries, what have you. So it all works out pretty well. The only other major points to cover about these amber mines, caves, whatever, is that you don't want to make them too small unless you don't plan on having water in there, because as you'll see, I kind of make like levels or tiers and try to put water on some of the different levels. I had some trouble already, and I thought this was kind of big, so just be aware of that. And the other thing is, for those of you that don't have access to mixed eras, obviously you're going to want to pick the BioSyn era to have the research outposts and the invisible fence and whatnot. So I do pull up the light that I think works the best as an alternative, but if you do have mixed eras available, a nice touch to the mines is adding the Jurassic Park column with the flames. It just adds some kind of ambient lighting and makes it look creepy. So they are not necessary. I thought it was something to spice it up a little bit, so I used them. At the end of the video, I do a quick little overview. I think it looks pretty cool. This build has been a long time coming, and some of you already know that I have been putting it off in the hopes that Frontier would release the remaining species in the next DLC, and as I'm recording this, the DLC has been announced. Microceratus down there is still not included. It makes me sad all day, but I don't want to wait to do this build anymore, so here we are without all of the official species. But I do have my own thoughts. I don't want to speculate too much because at the end of the day we're going to get what we're going to get, but I think / hope that Frontier is planning something very, very cool for a summer release. It is Jurassic Park's 30th anniversary, and I really don't have any doubts that they're going to do something pretty cool DLC-wise when that time comes. For the time being, BioSyn Sanctuary will not have all of the species that are actually seen there, or present, whatever. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way too. The way that I do all of my builds, including this one, I don't turn Dinosaur Comfort on. I usually don't have Hunger turned on. Water, it depends. But I like to come back to these and just enjoy them. Very peaceful. I'm not concerned about disease or anything like that. So in order for this to be 100% film accurate, there are no fences, invisible or not. That's the only conclusion I can come up with based on the movie. Maybe, well, obviously there would be one around the entire perimeter, but in the game it doesn't really matter because the dinosaurs can't get off the map. So what I ended up doing was giving each carnivore and the Therizinosaurus their own enclosure, so they're all separated. They're not going to cause a panic for the most part with the rest of the herbivores. All of the herbivores and the flying ones are going to be able to freely roam. I'm not going to have hunger on, so I know the flyers are going to cause panic in some of the herbivores, but whatever. If you feel the need to corral them further, feel free to make an aviary. There is no aviary present in the film, but, you know, like that scene with the Giganotosaurus and Rexy fighting over the deer that the Therizinosaurus killed, why would they put them in the same enclosure? It doesn't make any sense, aside from the neural implants that they talk about and that are in Camp Cretaceous. You know, maybe when the dinosaurs get too close to each other, the people in the compound can separate them using the implants, but we don't have that in the game. So basically, depending on your play style, once I place the research posts in here, that's it. That's film accurate as best that it can be. But if you continue, I'm going to build the enclosures for the rest of the carnivores and whatnot. With that being said, I put Pyroraptor as close to the dam as possible. That's another thing that doesn't make sense. You know, how did that Pyroraptor get out of the invisible fence? Why is it at the dam? The movie, I get it, it's full of action and they need set pieces and whatnot, and sure, it was kind of cool seeing it swim around and whatnot, but as far as building this accurately, they made it impossible. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. And then, like, with the research outposts, if you have mixed eras, you'll be able to place down the supply piles and whatnot that I place around them. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Those are just something extra that I did. Kind of like the Jurassic Park columns in the mines. It's just something extra. If you can't do it, it's still film accurate, you know? So please don't get too upset about that. As far as the rest of the building, the Dilophosaurus research outpost area, that's the only other one where I do any sort of like terraforming, and the only reason for that is when Malcolm's driving the Jeep and they end up rolling down the hill and all the characters meet up and whatnot, that all happens right at that outpost. So I lowered the terrain to give it a hill so that that would be where they rolled down. But other than that, this build is very minimalistic and simple. I didn't do any terraforming because, again, in the movie, all we see of the valley is really flat. It's just flat, it's forest, there's not a whole lot to it, so I tried to stay true to that, and I just left it alone as is. That's why this is also one of the shorter build tutorials. I was able to do this almost at normal speed. But thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy it. I know it wasn't the most exciting build ever, but in my opinion, it is pretty film accurate. So until next time.